take projection.
Well, welcome everybody to Taking on Sports. I'm TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. you know, excuse me, kind of a tough day today, but one I'm not overly mad at. I guess just more disappointed with how things ended
Mm-hmm.
on the day we really had no control over. But we had a lot of hope going into the weekend, and for it to get dashed how it did, I was like, man, that's just tough. But here's what it is at this point.
It is what it is. Of course, Greg's talking about Alabama not participating in the first ever 12-team
yeah,
playoff. Something that was, seemed shocking on face value and, uh, probably disappointing. We'll review Alabama's season, later, either in a couple weeks or after the bowl game or something, So we'll talk about that part of it. But yeah,
yeah,
Alabama does not get in. Um, thanks to a last second Clemson field goal to win the ACC championship and effectively steal Alabama's spot in the playoff. SMU did not drop out. The committee thought that their season was worth it. And, we don't have an argument. We said after the Oklahoma game that was it.
hmm,
That Alabama had blown their shot. They have no one to blame but themselves. All they had to do
exactly.
was beat a 5-5 Oklahoma team and win the Iron Bowl. And
Yeah,
really, no matter what had happened in the SEC title game, they would have stayed in.
right. Because obviously teams did not really get, like they said, teams were, that was a concern if teams were going to get penalized for
Yeah,
losing championship games, and we saw that really wasn't the case yesterday at all.
no, yeah. Well, let's go through that field. Of course, your
Yeah.
top four seeds: Oregon number one, of course. A good game, surprisingly, maybe surprisingly, a really good game against Penn
Yeah.
State last night in the Big Ten title game. They, of course, number one, only unbeaten team in the country. Number two seed Georgia. No shock there. I don't
Yeah.
think so. Um, SEC champion, kind of a sloppy, ugly win over Texas yesterday
Mm-hmm.
in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Did it with a backup quarterback. We'll have to look at
Yep.
Carson Beck's health. They did it smash mouth Georgia way.
Yep.
Played great defense. Really shut that Texas offense down for the second time this
Yeah.
season. Number three seed, the Broncos of Boise State. How far we've come.
Shoot.
Uh, you know, we often talk about that infamous 2004 season. It's 20 years ago
Yeah.
now. That's really when Boise jumped on the map. Of course, that was year 5 teams finished the regular season unbeaten. USC, Oklahoma, who played for the title in the Orange Bowl. Auburn, who it's crazy to think now that an undefeated SEC champion
I
doesn't get
left
the
out.
title. Yeah. Back then, it wasn't that shocking, but right now, it's unthinkable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they finished, and of course, Boise State and Utah all finished the season unbeaten, and that was really, I think that season it didn't start them, of course, but it really kind of got it back into the main conversation. Uh,
For sure.
if the BCS was right or if we needed a playoff, because
Yep.
no matter what conference you're in, if you go unbeaten through your season, win your conference title, you probably at least deserve a
To
chance to
get
get on the field
something.
and
Right.
play for a title. But anyway, so
Exactly.
finally, 20 years, say that 20 years later, finally,
Mm.
Boise State gets their chance to play for that title.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they've played the
Happy
big boys
for him.
before, of course. Yeah, exactly. Excited. I'm not a Boise State hater at all. Love it.
No.
Um, love, Ashton Genty, great story to watch. He's got a shot at the official Barry Sanders
Yep.
rushing record for a single season. And the unofficial one, of course, people forget, the
Mm-hmm.
record is 26 something officially because they didn't count bowl stats back then
Yeah.
in the what is that 88 season, I think.
Right.
And the unofficial record is 28, I think, like 2850 something. So Ashton
Which
Genty
is
could really get
incredible.
both of those. But yeah, incredible season for him. Great. There was a time you'd never think that Boise State would actually get their shot, and now they have it. And of course, their only loss
Exactly.
this year was a 3-point loss to Oregon. So
Yeah. On the road in Eugene.
yeah,
So,
exactly. So this. We'll see how legit they are, and we'll get to their draw in a second. But
yeah.
number 4 seed Arizona State. Talk about what a season, man! Big 12
Yeah.
champions.
Amazing.
Uh,
Amazing.
picked to finish like last or near last by pretty much
Yeah.
everyone in the Big 12 media and national media.
Oh, absolutely.
Kenny Dillingham, just amazing, great. If it weren't for Kirk Cignetti in Indiana, he'd probably be coach of the year, and he
And
still might steal it from
honestly,
him.
I don't know the way that they've ended and the fact they made the playoff and won the.
I about to
He
say, yeah,
might.
he might steal it.
I don't know. He might still win, depending on if people how early people voted, or if they've waited till the end. Because honestly, both are. I mean, you can't. There's not a wrong answer either. But either
No,
one's
no,
a
no,
right
no.
answer. So I mean, it's just amazing that both those teams are in the playoff. I don't think anybody would ever thought we'd ever hear Indiana ever, and then what Arizona State's been for the last 20
Hmm.
years, they would be anywhere near, uh, in national title hunt at all. So it's just awesome.
Yeah, well, perfectly said. So of course, those are your top four seeds. They all get buys uh, to the second round, the quarterfinals. Number one, Oregon will play in the Rose Bowl. They will host the winner of Ohio State. Oh, excuse me, Ohio State and Tennessee. That's the 8-9
Yeah.
matchup in Columbus. The Buckeyes, the higher seed in that one. That's probably the most. To me,
That's
that's the
on
most.
paper. That's the intriguing as far as just
Yeah, best opening round game right now. Yeah.
um,
That line, though, I don't know if you've seen the opening line around
mm,
Ohio State around a touchdown favorite.
I don't know about that.
Interesting there. Yeah, me neither. 2C Georgia, they'll be playing in the Sugar Bowl and not the Peach Bowl. That's due to the Sugar Bowl still keeps the conference alignment. So, yeah, the SEC's
Mhm.
champ still goes to the Sugar Bowl if it's not one of the semifinals. They will play the winner. I'll tell you what, man. Well, let's just go through the bracket real quick before we
Yeah,
get to our
yeah.
opinions. They will play the winner of 10 seed Indiana, who visits 7 seed Notre Dame.
Hmm.
A little in-state
Battle of
matchup. You
Indiana.
don't, yeah, you don't see that matchup a lot, and that is, I would imagine that's almost a dream for Indiana fans. You're on the big stage right now, and you get big bad Notre
Hey,
Dame. Uh,
yeah, you don't even have to travel far to get to the game. That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's not a you can travel. It's right. I don't know how
Oh
far
shit.
away the two campuses are,
We just
but
got big breaking news. Big breaking news.
oh, I just got the
Juan
notification.
Soto. Juan Soto to the Mets. Jeez, Louise.
Oh
Broken here.
no!
Broken.
We need to
On.
start.
Taking
We
off
need to
sport.
start streaming live. Damn. Breaking here.
765.
Yeah.
15 year. That's wild.
Oh
15 years.
shit,
That's just
man! What the
wild.
fuck are you Yankees doing, Greg? They were supposed to keep him out of the
Jesus.
NL East.
Jesus. That is wild.
Oh
So
man.
wild.
I cannot wait to see him all of a sudden bat 250 and only 17 home runs this year because of the Mets curse. It'll be great. No, of course he's a great hitter. He's going to kill there. Damn, that is huge. Who knew we were going to talk some baseball today?
Right?
Where were we? See, oh yeah, Indiana Notre Dame. Yeah, that's got to be like
Indiana
a dream
Notre Dame.
matchup.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Because
yeah,
yeah, it's just amazing. Right, we was talking about, just the fact that where Indiana's at compared to where Indiana normally is. B, I mean, it's just a day's travel. I mean, I don't know how far Bloomington is from South Bend, but I don't, Indiana not the biggest state, so I mean, it's not a long drive. You're
it's
not
got to be a
traveling across
drive.
the
Yeah,
country.
yeah,
You're not traveling across the country. Really, the game tickets might be high, but I mean, you probably don't even have to worry about a hotel or anything like that. So overall, that's a hell of a win for Indiana.
yeah. And it's almost like a Hollywood story. A little
Oh yeah.
Hoosiers esque.
If they pull
You
that
know,
upset, they
Exactly.
got a
That's
story
like
for a lifetime.
already the best season in school history, and what other way could it get better other than beating, Big Bag Notre Dame in your first
Yeah.
ever meaningful postseason game.
Jeez,
A
what a
lot of
storyline that
all
would
the
be.
pressures on Notre Dame in that one. All the
Oh,
pressure
absolutely.
on them. Yeah. All right, 3 seed Boise State. They'll be playing in the Fiesta Bowl appropriately, of course, where they once they got a shot. They've it's not like they haven't had shots at the big boys. They've
Yeah,
had, but just not for
just
titles.
not
But
in
of
the meetings. Yeah.
course, that infamous 2000, probably 2007, I guess,
Yeah,
Fiesta Bowl.
2007 when they beat
Yeah,
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma. And Adrian
and then Ian
Peterson led
Miller,
Oklahoma. Yeah,
and then was it Ian Miller who
Johnson.
Ian Johnson, yeah, that proposed to his
Yeah,
girlfriend after
yeah,
the game.
yeah. The Statue of Liberty play for the 2 point and the win, and right to proposing to his cheerleader girlfriend. Yeah, talk about your Hollywood movies. They, in that Fiesta Bowl, will be hosting the winner of 6 seed Penn State and 11 seed SMU. Who, of course, this is the spot where some people thought Alabama should be. We'll get to that in
Yep.
just a second. But another interesting matchup right there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. And then 4 seed Arizona State. Unfortunately, they got to travel all the way to the Peach Bowl. For them, and then they would play the winner of 12 seed Clemson, who will visit 5 seed Texas. So
That's an interesting game.
it is, yeah, a lot of orange there. You wonder who Arizona State might want as a. You almost would think you'd want Texas, even though they might be the better team, but they're not. Clemson might take over the Georgia Dome.
Yeah,
But
they
anyway,
would
yeah, that's
be they would be very deep. Yeah, very
yeah.
deep. Because I mean, no, honestly, the SEC championship game, like I expected Georgia to be there because of course they're in state, but it
Hmm.
was like 90-10 yesterday. Texas
Oh
did
yeah,
not travel.
it's crazy. Yeah. Uh, yeah, we talked about it, but that's one of the unfortunate things of them still using the bowls in the playoff. But
Yep.
all that for show. But yeah, there you have it. So, Greg, let's talk. I guess let's talk about the pun intended, elephant in the room. But
Mhm.
SMU gets that last spot,
Yep.
seemingly over Alabama. Alabama, the
Mhm.
first one out.
Mhm.
Uh, we talked about it though. We said, we don't think, Alabama with the loss to Oklahoma, they believe their
Yep.
shot.
Exactly.
Um, all you got to do, like we said, all you got to do is win those last 2 games. It doesn't matter
Yep.
what you do in the SEC title game.
Yeah.
But do you
Yeah.
think this is the right call, the wrong call, or is it just no matter what the committee did, it was going to be the wrong call or the right call?
Well, I mean, of course, no matter what the committee did, it was going to be some chaos. I mean, of course, the people there's going to be Alabama fans that hate it. There's going to be SEC fans that hate it. I mean, that's expected. But if they had put Alabama ahead of SMU after SMU didn't lose in the regular season in conference, the only loss was to a solid BYU team, and then they lose at the last second kick in the championship game. That's overall sets uh, dangerous precedents going forward because I think they're going to continue to go off of the same model. I mean, there will be some corrections at times and different things happen, but I think you don't want to set a precedence of a team losing in the championship game in that fashion and then be kept out because eventually, I mean, that could be in some situation one day that could have been Alabama, and then
Mm-hmm.
so. And like we've said, we had our chances. I mean, we don't lose to Vandy or we don't lose even one of those games. We're in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had our chances to win. We didn't do what we needed to do in either of those games. Or we beat Tennessee, but those are the two of the easier ones. They don't look good. We really don't have any buddy to be mad at but ourselves, as we've said. It's disappointing we're not in. I think many of us expected to get in the first year because you had more bigger leeway.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought and then after that Georgia game, we really thought, hey man, we might be a heck of a team. At the time, we showed we were great, but it is what it is. You can't be overly mad. I think we could be disappointed in a way because going into last week, we really thought, man, we have a shot if SMU wins. And for that SMU Clemson game to end as it did, I think that was a more disappointing thing because as the game goes on and SMU comes back, I think Alabama fan really thought, man, the SMU's about to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're in. I think that's the most disappointing thing of the whole weekend more than anything is that it came right down to the last second, and then Clemson hit an amazing kick, 56 yarder,
Mm-hmm.
to win that game. So I mean, that's more disappointing than not being in is the fact of how we didn't get in at the last second due to, the heck of an ACC championship game.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And I agree with everything you said there. Yeah, like after Oklahoma, we pretty much were like, well, that's it. There's out, and then we kind of had hope build up, and a lot of the projections this week, and then it was like,
Yeah.
well, maybe you if SMU loses, even then maybe
Hmm.
they'll look at our resumes. And as far as the committee goes, yeah, they're in a no-win situation.
Yeah.
Like you said, if they keep SMU out, that's a bad precedent set. And then, of course, a lot of the reaction from Alabama fans, SEC fans, big conference fans online today is that as the other way, it's that it sets a bad precedent now that
Strength of
teams
schedule
will,
doesn't matter.
yeah, strength of schedule doesn't matter, and top 25 wins don't matter. And even Greg Byrne, Alabama's athletic director, sent out a tweet that basically said
Hmm.
that they're going to look at future out of conference games and reassess if they
Yeah.
need to keep
I
them or if
I
they
don't
need.
like that.
That's some loser shit, man. Yeah, I did not like
Let's
that
not be that.
statement.
Let's not be.
Yeah,
Let's not be
yeah,
that team. Because
yeah.
I mean, I understand. Yes, the ACC is not the SEC. I understand that. We know that the Big 12 is not the SEC week in and
Hmm.
week out. We get that. At the same time, Alabama didn't lose because of the non-conference schedule. We lost because we lost to two teams we should have beat in conference.
Hmm.
And I get to talk, and it sounds good, because we do have some, interesting games in the future. Ohio State home and home, Notre Dame home and home, things of that
Hmm.
nature. Well, let's not get rid of those games. Why?
No, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
That's
the
it's
fans,
part of
the fans long term want to see that game. They might be pissed off now, but do you want to see? Do you want to see Kent State or do you want to see Ohio State come to Tuscaloosa? Who do you want to see?
yeah. And ultimately, I think that money wins out, and they look at that and they go, no, that ticket revenue we'll get from that
Yeah,
game, the money it
everything.
pours
Nothing
into the
bad
town,
comes
yeah.
from that game because
No, yeah,
that
you can
one.
lose that one and bounce back, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You lose that one game, you're not out the playoff.
Oh yeah,
Alabama. If Alabama goes 10-2 that season, let's
hmm
just base it off. Let's say you know let's let's say our two losses and Ohio State to their top. Let's say the year we lose Ohio State and we lose to I don't know. I don't even know what the schedule be in that year. Let's say we lose to that in Texas. We're not out the playoff,
no,
unless something wild happens. Unless there's a crazy amount of undefeated teams. That
mhm.
Alabama team's in the playoff. Like I get to talk right now, and I think it's more disappointed talk, and it's just more shock value talk, and I get it. But long term, that's not where it's at.
No, yeah. Like I said,
Not at
that's not
all.
what we're about. We're Alabama, man. We put them on, lace them
We
up.
want we want to play everybody.
Yeah, we want the best.
Yeah,
Beat everybody. That's what our the
yeah,
buttons used to say.
yeah. It's
Everyone
Alabama
says
versus everybody.
exactly. They would say people chant, "We want Bama." We would chant, "We want
Yeah, there's a
everyone."
reason.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
exactly. And
reason. We
that doesn't
didn't. We don't
that
shy
doesn't
away from
change with a
games.
new coach. Like the player said, like that's the standard. The program is a standard. Um,
Exactly.
Nick Saban didn't build Alabama.
Yeah.
It's
He
been there before
resurrected
him.
it,
Yeah,
but
exactly. He resurrected it, and he led it better than anyone has, Bear included. But um, that is the standard
yeah,
of Alabama football. Is line
yeah,
up, and we don't care who's across that. On the other
yeah.
sideline.
We came
Um,
expecting to win the game.
yeah, and it's about bad losses too. These were we benefited in 2017.
Yeah,
We were
absolutely.
not conference champion. The last image anybody had of us was Auburn kicking our ass in the Iron Bowl,
Yeah, and
and
luckily
we
for us,
benefit.
they turned. Yeah,
Yeah, we benefited because Ohio State, even despite being the conference champion, Big Ten champion, the committee looked at that blowout loss they had to a bad Iowa team and were like, "No,
yeah,
we can't let you into playoff because of that."
yeah,
And that's what happened. We had two of them. They looked at that Vanderbilt loss, and Vandy was a
yeah.
solid team this year, but still 6-6. And then they looked at the bad one. The real bad one was the late
Oh,
season
you
blowout loss to
absolutely
Oklahoma, to a mediocre Oklahoma team, and the
a team that
committee
no one
looked
has
at that.
struggled with.
Exactly, yeah. And the committee looked at that and said, That's not playoff material. If that loss
No.
had been to, I don't know, LSU or
Yeah.
Georgia,
Let's say then it's not as bad. But yeah, but the thing is our losses were losses outside of that Tennessee game that didn't make sense. Yeah,
mhm,
if we had had three losses and they were LSU, at LSU, at Tennessee, and if we had lost that Georgia game, three losses that in some way make some sense.
mhm,
Maybe we get in the playoffs with those three losses, but our quality of losses were not good at all. I mean, Vandy had a good season for Vandy, but long term, they fell off towards the end of the season. So they that and that OU game just still doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what
yeah,
happened that day. Don't know,
and
but
I think it's weird as it is to say that the Vandy loss is better than the Oklahoma loss,
no, absolutely.
because we were in that game.
Oh
That
yeah,
was not
we had
that was not a
chances.
blowout. Yeah, we had
We
chances until
fought
the very
back.
end. Yeah,
Yeah, we fought back.
yeah,
We never even touched OU.
no,
We
yeah, that
never
game
fought
was
back.
not.
We never got
Mm,
into the game. We never even seemed to care. And
no,
that's
yeah,
the craziest part about it. And like that can't be left out. Like I understand our frustration and fans are gonna be frustrated, but at the end of the day, yes, we had better wins than what SMU had.
mhm,
Georgia is clearly better than anything that SMU did. Same time, SMU had better losses. BYU and Clemson losses are much better than Vandy and
mhm.
OU this year. So that's just what it is.
Yeah, the
And
Clemson loss. Even say what you will about Clemson, I'm sure we will. Like that is in your conference title game on a 56-yard field goal as time
yeah,
expires, in a game
yeah,
that you came back in.
yeah,
BYU lost. They lost a couple late, but they were, they were almost in the playoffs themselves.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
So they were
our
right there
loss,
themselves.
even if that Oklahoma loss, if we had been competitive, or if it was just some fluky thing, if we had come back maybe and made it a
Yeah,
tied it up but lost
competitive
in
game.
overtime, or if it was
Right.
just one of those weird games where
It may
like
have been looked at
Oklahoma,
different
yeah, yeah, exactly. That might have given us. It was the nature in which they kicked our asses.
when we came in knowing everything that was on the line.
Exactly, and then we didn't really score that many style points, or if any at all, in the Iron Bowl. Four
Yeah,
turnovers, even
right. I
though
mean, it was a fun
even though
game
that
for us, but
yeah, that game never was really in doubt. I don't think you could say.
it was just
Uh,
ugly.
yeah, it was just ugly, and and who knows, maybe it's different if we don't turn the ball over four times, and say those
Yeah,
four possessions turned into four touchdowns and that big a
right.
blowout. Maybe that's enough. Maybe it's not. But either way, going back to the original point, the committees just whatever they did, it's they're in a bad situation, and part of that is because of the way it's set up. We've talked about it before. I've said it. I think it's dumb. The committee makes their own rankings and releases them every week. I don't mind a ranking system. I think the BCS rankings, you
Yeah.
do something like that, like the basketball does with, I forget the name of the new one they use. It's replaced the RPI,
Oh yeah,
uh, like the Kim Palm or whatever. But
you can palm. Yeah,
if you use it something like that and you have these rankings, but you still have the committee to basically do the seeding and then step in when like the rankings say, oh, team A is ahead of team B, but then the committee steps in and goes, yeah, well, team B won head to head and they had the same record, so
yeah,
team B is going to get in. um,
exactly.
I think that's how you safeguard yourself. It's just I've never liked that they release weekly rankings that they themselves make, because they're arbitrary. They change their damn minds on what matters so much, and then they get
Exactly.
scrutiny
It
for it.
changes
Yeah,
so much. There's no
yeah, yeah,
consistency. One week
yeah,
it's this, one week it's this, and then by the week, and then you get to week 13, and it's something different.
yeah. I think things that you wouldn't have near as much controversy if you just had the a BCS style rankings that they
Yep.
could come out every week. ESPN
Yep.
could still have their show to talk about them and
Yep.
project and all that. And
Yep.
then at the end of the day, the committee on Selection Sunday, comes out
If
and
they need to
announces
make
if
some
they put out
changes, they
this,
can.
yeah, if they put out this same bracket, and people are like, well, what about Alabama? And they could easily said they could like, well, we looked at that Oklahoma, it was the eye test, as they say. We looked at
Exactly.
that Oklahoma game, and that's not a playoff team in our eyes.
Yeah.
And I would have been fine with that. And I
Yeah.
understand where other people are upset is if you look at blind resumes and you say you put down SMU, Miami, Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, you're probably picking Alabama out of that bunch, maybe Ole
Yep.
Miss. Uh, South Carolina, as fun as stories that is, and as hot as they are, you can't put them in over either Bama or
Yeah.
Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miami, just the win wasn't there.
Yeah.
Um, and, they lost, that Syracuse loss kind of knocked them out. And, SMU, again, same thing as Miami. That conference schedule is kind of weak, no top 25 wins, but they did finish, they did an unbeaten regular conference season
Yeah.
and lost their title game, like we said, on field
Against
goals.
and no matter how you feel about it, the best team of the last decade in the ACC by far.
Exactly, yeah, the standard of the ACC. But yeah, so they're not winning either way. It's the system's not
Yeah.
designed to fail.
Because no matter what,
Man,
at the end of the day,
mhm.
Clemson only had one ACC loss. So in conference, they were still elite.
Yeah.
Because the other two
Um,
losses were South Carolina and Georgia. So I mean, not conference games to any extent. So
yeah, and the good news in all this is that I believe that they're up for some kind of, they can change this process. They can make
hmm
changes
yeah.
and after the year. So I think maybe they look at some things and maybe they
hmm
either set out like, hey, this is exactly how
I
this
was,
works. Maybe
yeah,
they look at the auto bid model and decide they don't want to do it.
yeah,
Maybe they tweak it. One thing, I don't
hmm
mind conferences getting automatic bids. I think,
yeah,
especially as much as people talk about the sanctity of the college football regular season, you need
right,
conferences to be important.
yeah,
You need that title to be important. Now, I mean, to me,
exactly.
ideally, we mentioned that 2004 season, that would have been the perfect time for a playoff. And, I think I used to write some stuff back in the day for those
hmm
blogs that we had. But, my proposal was always 16 teams. Every conference winner gets a bid, and then there are five at
hmm
large, because there were
Yep,
11 conferences back then.
right,
And that's the only problem I have with it now is that, what do we have? I guess 9 conferences now.
right,
Um, you can't do 9 auto bids and just 3.
right.
Maybe you
3
could
at
do
large.
a 14 or 16 team with that, and then because then you still have 7 at larges. And I just think if you're going to do auto bids, every conference should get one, or you restructure FBS to where we only have 5 conferences or something.
Right.
But
Yeah, I think the only problem I have is who got the automatic buys
mhm,
because we talk so much about strength of schedule, but then the people that got the first round buys are Boise State, Arizona State,
mhm,
and the other two make sense: Georgia and uh, and
Oregon.
Oregon, of course, and that makes perfect sense. And I mean, I get it this year. I mean, it's kind of set as such, but and they definitely should be a playoff team. But you can't tell me that based upon their conference and what they won, that they should have, you know, have it over like a Texas. Even though Texas didn't have the best schedule, we all know that they had an easy road. But I just didn't think, Boise State, Mountain West, and they held their own. They did what they needed to do. But for them to be that high and Arizona State to be that high is a little weird, and I think
Mhm.
they'll probably change that a little bit as we go ahead. I think they'll have the automatic bids, but not necessarily get you an automatic buy based on that winning that conference. Still get you into the playoff, but I think that needs to be looked at a little deeper as far as is this team better? Is Arizona State really better than Ohio State or Texas or
Mhm.
Notre Dame or things of that nature?
Uh, no, I wholeheartedly agree, and I think we're not the only ones. I've seen that sentiment a lot
It
online,
is.
not just
Yeah.
today, but like this week.
Yeah.
That having the auto bits or the conference champs of 4 highest ranked ones
Perfect.
get automatic buys doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
It's fine they get the bids, but yeah, just let the committee just give it to the top four ranked teams. Um,
Now, the other thing that I think is really wild is how the thing is seated in that second round. Because if you look at it, Oregon got screwed.
yeah, let's get to that. That's perfect. I was gonna at some point we need to talk about Oregon's path, man. So
It's
they get the winner of
ridiculous.
the 8-9 game, Tennessee Ohio State.
Wait, what?
That's a tough winner, and then if they get through that, they have one of Arizona State, Texas, Clemson. Those are all pretty tough teams too.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look down at the 2 seed,
My gosh, Georgia has the easiest road on paper.
Georgia gets the winner of Indiana Notre Dame. And look,
Hmm.
that's just talent wise, we've seen when Notre Dame goes up against these
We've
big
seen this story
teams,
before.
yeah, what happens? And this isn't one of those invincible Georgia teams, so who knows? But
Yeah,
they keep
but
winning.
it's
They know how to win, man.
yeah, they do.
And and then if they get through that, they have one of Boise State, Penn State, SMU. And again, like we love the Boise story, but that's such a talent differential. Not
Yeah,
saying Boise couldn't do it, but as
that's
far
gonna
as
be a tough. That's a
yeah.
tough ask.
And then yeah, SMU, Penn State. Penn State. We'll see. Hell of an effort against Oregon.
Yep.
But again, as we always say, like James Franklin, win the big one. It, it okay, it's not just an Ohio State thing. There's no shame in losing that game to Oregon. They
Yeah.
did,
No,
especially they
they
fought. They
they
fought.
fought. They came back. They
Hmm.
made it close. Only thing that I thought was crazy about that game was why did they go for two when they were up? When they had,
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know.
they were like, oh, analytics says. Sometimes
Yeah,
analytics stop it.
and then
But then at the end, Drew Howard did the Drew Howard thing and threw the terrible
mhm,
pick.
terrible. Yeah.
After he threw the most perfect touchdown pass on the drive
Uh,
before.
just and I think that's that's just not to stay on Penn State too long, but that is just the other story of the James Franklin area is they have these quarterbacks that are talented and they have the arm. It just never the complete guy.
Yeah,
Never the one that's always really comes through for him.
right.
But that's a really interesting matchup with SMU. And again, speaking on the Georgia part of it,
Hmm.
SMU, lost to Clemson. Georgia beat the ever living shit out of them. So I'm with you. Yeah, Ohio State, or excuse me, Oregon, even though they're the 1 seed, got a much tougher path than Georgia, the 2 seed,
Man,
did.
because they're going to possibly play Ohio State again. And we saw how crazy that game was in
Hmm.
Eugene. And this will be at a neutral site.
Hmm.
So just, man. Or you play in Tennessee, arguably one of the best defenses in America.
Hmm.
Who knows?
And
I
Nico
mean,
and
that's
Nico
just,
got better and better as the year went on, man. So,
yeah.
but
I
how about
mean,
those first round matchups? What are you feeling? So let's start on Tennessee, Ohio State, man. I feel like Tennessee should be the home team in this one.
yeah.
Um,
I would say how the season's ended, most definitely. I mean,
I don't. Yeah,
they, Tennessee lost their last game, and I mean, they lost to Georgia was their last loss.
yeah,
It wasn't. I mean, they, got dominated,
yeah.
but Ohio State, we just saw them lose to Michigan last weekend.
Hmm. And ugly. They couldn't do shit on
Uh,
offense.
a
Didn't.
horrible, a
Yeah.
horrible performance.
I think they should have dropped a little bit more. I think
Yeah,
Tennessee, virtue of their season, deserved a
and we
home
said home
game in
game
that. Yeah.
based on that. Yeah,
I also think
absolutely.
looking at this, it feels odd I'm defending them, but I think Notre Dame got screwed. I think they should be that 5 seed.
Hmm.
Um, 7. I mean, granted, again, their strength of schedule is something to look at, but
Yeah,
they've been beating the shit out of everybody they've been playing lately, man.
yeah.
They have
They've been
gotten
playing
better and
good football.
better. Yeah, they are
This
maybe
is not the team that lost to Northern Illinois.
no, it's not. They are playing really good football.
Yeah,
And when they do come against teams that are good, the Army, they dominate them. So I
and
think they
they
deserved a
dominated.
little bit better than
Yeah,
a 7 seed that has to go against Georgia in the second round.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
I think I would have done like Penn State at 5. I might have bumped Tennessee all the way up to that 6 seed, honestly.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would either had, yeah, but yeah, I would have Notre Dame. I thought, yeah, should have been in that 5 spot for
yeah,
me
yeah,
personally.
yeah.
Just because, I mean, we saw Penn State lose this
Mm-mm,
week. We saw Ohio State lose last week. We haven't seen Notre
mm-mm,
Dame lose since September.
mm-mm.
Like, and I know everybody's gonna always point at that Northern Illinois game, but man, I think right now Notre Dame could probably beat both of those teams.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Not saying they
Um,
do, but they think they match up well with Ohio State this year. They match up well with Penn State, and I think they did enough to be the 5th seed.
yeah.
Now they'll never be a top four as long as they're not in the conference. But
Which,
if they change, and
yeah.
which may change once they get away from 1 through 4 has to be a conference champion, and at that point maybe they are able to get to the top four themselves. But until that
Yeah.
changes, I mean, obviously the highest they can get is that 5 spot. And there was a time that they deserved the 5 spot. Probably was this year.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if we didn't have the conference thing this year, I believe. Oh no, they had Penn State still there. So, uh, oh no, this is last week, so I don't have the.
So Penn State lost twice.
Yeah, so I'm looking for the actual rankings of it. But anyway, yeah, I think I would have Notre Dame there at the 5. I'd probably
Yep.
have either Texas or Tennessee at the 6 and 7. Some form of that.
Yeah.
And then I'm probably dropping like maybe Penn State to 8, maybe, and then Ohio State to 9, something like that. I don't know. The other weird thing I thought, why is SMU ahead of Clemson when Clemson just beat them?
Yeah. I and
uh,
honestly,
mm-hmm.
I thought that was a sign that we were in the playoff when I saw the
Clemson was 12.
Clemson.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought, well, shit. If it's based on head to head, and they just beat SMU, I kept that, man. We're in. Wife was like, hold on, don't put a status. Lucky I didn't, but I thought for sure when they put them at 12 that we were in, because I was like, that would only make sense, right? But yeah,
yeah. I just thought that was a really odd.
yeah,
Um,
really weird, but
so
not that
which
really matters. But
yeah. So that the Tennessee Ohio State, that's the best matchup of the first
yeah,
round,
that
right?
at least on paper it is. As far as I don't think. I think the rest of them. I haven't even looked at the lines per se, but I would assume the rest of those lines probably are not very pretty. Hmm,
Let's see. We got real quick. Notre Dame 8, Penn State 8.5, Texas
hmm.
11.
It's not bad, I guess. Not as bad as what maybe I thought.
Yeah. Is there maybe like a potential second round game that you really want to see?
mm, I'd have to look. In this first, in the first, there's some. I like some of the first round matchups just because, like for example, I like the Penn State SMU game. I think that'll be interesting. The
Mm-hmm.
battle for Indiana is an interesting one. Um, I think Texas Clemson's interesting just because it's two big names. And I'm not sure if they really ever played. I don't know what the history is there. But if they have played, it's been quite some time because I don't remember a time when Texas and Clemson have played football. So that's interesting. Um, you know, I think, but I think the first round will be interesting. As far as the second round matchups, the fact that right away we could get Ohio State, Oregon in the second round right away is pretty wild.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That get right to it.
Yeah.
Um, Clemson and
It's just
Texas
like,
have
wow,
never played, for the
never.
record.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's But yeah, that we could get Oregon. Either of those games, Oregon, Tennessee, or Ohio State in that second round is pretty crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, it's funny though that we could get a quarter final with SMU versus Boise State. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. uh, yeah, that would be. There's some interesting potential matchups. Yeah, I think a Texas
Yeah,
Arizona State game would be interesting.
that'd be a
Um,
fun. I think it'd be a very fun game. A lot of points
yeah.
possibly.
hmm Just that kind of battering style of Arizona State against the Sarks, high flying
Yeah, man, Cam
Texas machine.
Scatterboo. My goodness, what he did against Iowa State yesterday,
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. Just again, great story, great team that deserves to be there too.
But
Um,
I would say I was a little disappointed. As great as the whole Big 12 season has been, and then we have a complete blowout in the championship game.
I know, right? We didn't get some crazy super multiple overtime
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Um,
Because while every week we had a story, a wild game, a crazy upset, and then we get to the championship, and there's not even a ounce of
yeah,
anything other than
n-
Arizona State ass whooping.
yeah, no crazy to it. But I guess it's
Yeah,
also it is kind of just the craziness of that conference that it's in an ironic way fitting. Like, yep,
yeah.
of
In a
course,
way,
this
of
conference would
course.
just, one team at the end would just be like, nah, fuck this.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, I was really hoping we get that. What was that, 2 or 3 years ago now? That
yeah,
Oklahoma State Baylor Big 12
exactly.
title game where Oklahoma State fell a yard short. Um, yeah, let's see what is next. So yeah, we talked about it. So that's a seeding. I think we'll see how it goes. The first year of the 12-team playoff, and all this talk that everybody's doing about SMU or Alabama. At the end of the day, we're talking about the last team in. So
Yeah.
we could
Neither
have
neither of
sure
those teams are winning the title this year.
exactly, yeah, like sure Alabama on its best day can beat anybody, but they don't.
That's a
Does
big
anybody
if.
believe they're putting 4 of those in a row? No, probably not.
Yeah.
Um, SMU, as great as the stories have been, do we really think that they're gonna make a run through, Penn State and then Boise State and then probably Georgia and then who knows? Probably not. Great story if it is. Cinderella stories do happen.
Yeah. Because
But
but I mean, they've already achieved what overachieved.
yeah,
I mean, and that's the one thing too that kills me when the people say, "Oh, SMU's schedule wasn't tough," but let's remember they just moved up to the ACC. They came from the American,
hmm
and even though you look at it and say, "Oh, that's not a tough schedule," compared to what they had in the American year in year out, it definitely is. The
yeah,
ACC is a step up above the American, and for them to go undefeated in year one, despite not playing Clemson and they didn't play Miami in the regular season, but hell, they dominated a good Louisville team. They beat them handily on the road. I mean, they beat a solid Duke team, a 9-3 Duke team. I
hmm
mean, they at the time people were really high on Pittsburgh, and they came to town undefeated, and the SMU beat the brakes off them.
hmm
So I mean, but I get it. Their schedule wasn't the toughest, but in retrospect, they moved up a level and still did what they did. I mean, that's impressive in the first year.
absolutely, yeah. We talk about it often that it's a shame it's not happening in the Big 12. And what the
Yeah,
hell was the Big 12
perhaps.
doing? Not going
Yeah,
after them.
especially now. But
Yeah, yeah. Right now we got all that craziness, but yeah, that
yeah,
after Nebraska, Missouri left, and they decided to just stick with 10 teams. It's still so stupid to me they did not immediately call Houston and SMU up and be like, "Hey
yeah,
guys, want to get the band back together."
yeah.
Um, Especially at
They would
that
have.
time, SMU wasn't on quite there yet, but
Nope.
Houston, at that time, man, that was that.
Was hot. They were a good
Yeah,
team. And
That
that
would have
was in
been
the
a.
run when they had Sumlin and Tom Herman, and they were winning
Mhm.
BCS games and putting up points on any and everybody. Yeah, but
Yeah, I think
no,
it would have
you
been
know
great.
they finally got right with they finally got right with bringing in Houston.
Hmm.
And now the crazy thing is, though, for the longest it was the TCU was the power in the Metroplex. So I mean,
Hmm.
it seemed right that at the time that that they did right bringing TCU into the Big 12 finally. But now you're like, damn, now SMU's kind of taking over that whole thing. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you really hope that TCU steps up their game a little bit. A solid season for them, but
yeah,
you do hope they kind of step it up because that could have to be a real fun rivalry to actually have big,
right.
national
I mean,
stakes every year.
right, because it's a very heated rivalry. If you know anything about it, I mean, it just doesn't have the national appeal.
Hmm.
But I mean, anytime you can take a coach from one school and bring it to your school, in the Metroplex, that's crazy. Because I
Hmm.
mean, at the end of the day, I mean, they brought TCU brought the SMU coach after
Wow.
and then went on to the went on to the national title game with them, and
Yeah.
he's come down a little bit, but I mean that's just crazy. That'd be like Alabama being in the same, not as big a rivalry, but in a sense, it'd be like if Auburn took Alabama coach and went on to the national championship game.
Yeah. Right. It's unthinkable to fans of those
Yeah.
schools. Um,
They would ever jump ship. And he was building something. He was building something decent at SMU when he jumped to TCU.
yeah. And again, you look at
Yeah.
um,
And now, yeah, Sonny
the
Dice is
Big
building a
12.
decent. Yeah.
Again, that's something they missed out on having
Yeah, they
that
definitely did.
having that rivalry in conference, having the budgeting.
Hmm.
SMU. We've been saying it for years. SMU's been wanting to spend money again, and
Hmm.
now
And
they
they
can
spent
do
a
it
boatload to get
legally.
where they're at.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now that they can do
good
it
for them.
legally and not going to get
Yeah.
turned in and treated like a stepsister because they're not the big bad Texas or whatever the
Hmm.
case is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. But overall, I think the playoff they got the 12 right. Uh, you know, um, there's gonna be some adjustments as far as I
Hmm.
think how they seed the teams in the future.
Yeah.
And maybe they even do a reseed it. If we go the NFL route eventually and do a reseed after the first round matchups to make sure that your number one team is playing,
Which I
you
think
know, the worst
every
team out there.
sport, yeah, every playoff, every sport should do.
Yeah,
Always, yeah.
because it's no way.
Actually, reward your top seed.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, Oregon, the only team undefeated in all of college football, but yet their first round matchup is a doozy, no matter which way it goes.
Yeah. Um, and that's not, especially if there's some, say
Yeah, let's say,
SMU beats Penn State, then Oregon's still stuck playing Tennessee or Ohio State instead of
yeah,
getting that 11 seed. And that's just,
exactly,
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah.
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 They
Yeah.
need
Get
to
get
do
rid of
that
get rid of the auto buys and then reseed. Start there
exactly,
and then
and then of course I know eventually we're gonna grow in numbers,
yeah.
and they're gonna push for a 16 and whatever other number they're. But at some point, let's just keep it 12 for a little bit, see how it goes, and we can improve on the how
Hmm.
the 12 is determined and the seating, etc., and perfect that before we move on to a bigger number.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Let's get somewhere before we completely just
unless you're going to go the
oh,
TD playoff system,
right.
then yeah, let's just stick there. But because we don't need to expand it just to get 8 or 9-3 Alabama in or
Yeah.
nine and
Or
three Ole
half the SEC
Miss,
in and yeah,
yeah, or I'd say a Big Ten team, but they really didn't have anything else besides
right.
those three.
If Wisconsin was 9-3, or
Yeah,
or
Michigan, if
Michigan was 8-4, whatever the case may be.
yeah. But I agree.
I
No, I
just
think they got the right 12 at the end of the day. I'm gonna watch. I'll be excited to watch. Of course,
Yeah,
it
I
sucks
mean,
Alabama's not in, but we only have ourselves to blame, and our reward for
right.
that is we get Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl.
You know,
So
I think that's the other thing I'm disappointed in.
yeah,
If we're not gonna get into the playoff, obviously being that where we were at, we're the number one team left out of the playoff according to
Mhm.
everybody. But yeah, we have the worst opponent possible for the bowl game, which means
Oh
everyone's
yeah,
gonna opt out. No one's excited to play Michigan. I don't know if they thought, oh, it's a rematch of last year's national semifinal. That's
yeah.
entertaining.
It's
It's
not the
not.
same team. Yeah,
No one's interested in that game at all. Either side is just like, maybe Michigan is a little just because they're happy to be in a bowl game after some of how their season went. There's no Alabama fans excited about this game.
no, yeah,
If they're gonna give us a game, man, give us Miami, give us Colorado, give us some reason maybe they would want to play. Maybe get a Jalen Shador game. That's entertainment. Or Cam, maybe Cam Ward plays if he's playing Alabama. Who knows? Maybe not. I mean, he might be done. May be done regardless. But it's just I don't know. It's just that we're playing Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl. That's screaming we went 6-6.
yeah. It's so weird. And the ReliaQuest, of course, used to be the Outback Bowl. Oddly
Right.
enough, this will be Alabama's third appearance in this bowl game specifically. It also
Hmm.
used to be known as the Hall of Fame game, also against Michigan. So our previous two meetings were against in 1996. Gene Stallings' last team played Michigan, beat
Hmm.
them, and then and I think sometime like '85 or so, Alabama played Michigan in the Hall of Fame Bowl, and
Hmm.
I think Michigan might have won that one. I don't remember, but all three times Alabama's been in this game now. Michigan's the opponent. But yeah, it's very disappointing. I agree with you. Why are we not getting a Miami or hell Army? Another team that had a great season.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
play someone that at least is like
yeah,
at a record or better.
yeah.
Why we're playing a 7-5 Michigan team, I have no
BYU,
clue.
and especially so the Alamo Bowl gets Colorado versus BYU. So they're putting conference opponents
Yeah,
together. Like,
because
what are
it's
we doing
I
here?
guess they're doing a. They say the Alamo Bowl has a Pac-12 legacy, so I guess they consider the Colorado fits that still for some reason.
That's weird. Um,
But yet, I mean, they didn't play in the season, so I mean, it's an interesting game still. But
but yeah,
yeah, to have two conference teams playing in the same game, if that's the case, shit, let us play Ole Miss.
yeah, right. We didn't play Ole Miss this year. Yeah, I just thought that was weird.
Yeah, that was very weird when I saw that. I thought at first I thought it was a misprint. Maybe they didn't mean to put BYU and Colorado in the same game. Then you look back and you're oh, it's a real thing.
Yeah, the
Especially since Prime says his guys are playing.
yeah, right.
You know,
Like,
he said Shador's playing. He's saying Travis Hunter's playing. Who wouldn't want to see Alabama versus that? Just because,
yeah, some mark. That's a marquee matchups. Miami's in the Pop Tarts Bowl versus Iowa State, and good year for Iowa State. But come on, Miami can get a bigger bid. Why not Miami
yeah,
versus Colorado? That'd be a
yeah, that'd be a
great
hell of a
game.
game.
Yeah,
Especially if everybody played Cam Ward versus Shador Sanders.
yeah.
Um, the receiving Miami's receiving crew versus Travis
Travis
Hunter.
Hunter. Yeah, that would have been great.
Just
I
yeah,
would have taken BYU. That'd be a great matchup.
yeah, that'd been fun.
Alabama, Miami. Alabama is looking at some of these teams here. Iowa. Hell, I don't know. Yeah, the Michigan one's a letdown.
Yeah,
But anyway,
very much
that's
so.
that's that's our reward for losing Oklahoma. That's what we get.
Yeah, so we get.
Moving
But it's
on. And of course, all the conference title games we've talked about them. But just to go through yesterday or Saturday, as you listen to this, probably on Monday, Jacksonville State routed Western Kentucky to win the Conference USA title. Just great job by Rich Rod there, especially
yeah.
after their 0-3 start to come back and win that
Again, they
conference.
just again they just lost the week prior.
Yeah, too. So congrats to the Gamecocks there. Of course, with Mountain West, Boise beat UNLV, Ashton Genty, just a beast.
Another
Uh,
200 yard performance.
yeah, just ho hum, another 200-yard performance. American title game, kind of a surprising result to me. Army beat the crap out of Tulane.
What's going on
Uh,
in Tulane?
yeah, not a great end of the season for them. The loss to
No.
Memphis, the loss to
Is
Miami.
that a sign? To me, that's a sign your coach is gone. But I
Ooh,
don't know.
you think? I don't know. Maybe they have an interesting bowl matchup. I saw it somewhere. Where was it? They play Florida. Uh,
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah.
And
So
the Pirate Bowl. What's it, the
yeah, the
Gasparilla?
Gasparilla Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. That's
Yeah.
okay. Let's
Yeah, I
see
mean
where
that's an
else.
interesting game, but I mean at this point I don't know what Tulane is.
Yeah, that's it's going to
Because
be.
their last two losses weren't pretty.
They were not, and even though Florida's a big name, Tulane's had their wins against big names recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe they're not
Probably
don't get up
USC.
as that.
I mean,
So
they're not
we'll
going to be
see.
intimidated by their name at all, but yeah, you just have to wonder what's going on for them
Mhm.
to, after having such an amazing season. If you lose those games, cool, but the way that they lost those last two, I mean, they got dominated
Yeah.
by
So
both
like you
Memphis
said,
and Army. It's like
that's something
weird.
that's something to watch in this little off season. If
Yeah.
he indeed maybe is already has his mind somewhere else.
Hmm.
Uh, the MAC title game, Ohio, the Bobcats,
Ohio
just
dominated.
big win, and then the coach took a job at Charlotte.
Yeah. What?
uh,
That's weird.
yeah. Let's see. SEC, of course, we knew that. Ugly game, kind of disappointing, at least in terms of if you wanted to see, a shootout or
Yeah.
stuff like
It
that.
wasn't fun. It was
Hmm.
boring. For for as close of a game as it was, and considering how big between two teams like that, considering how big of a game it was the most boring big time
Yeah,
game I've seen in quite some time.
it was. Yeah.
Absolutely nothing happened for 90% of it.
Mm-mm. Sun Belt title, another kind of surprising one. Marshall, a big win over Louisiana in Lafayette, surprisingly
Yeah,
enough, too. So
dominant.
conference choice or Sun Belt champs, the
Now,
Thundering Herd.
I no, this was a weird one. I don't know. Just someone posted in this college football group I'm in. They're saying that the Marshall coach Huff is going to Southern Miss, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know if that has any
Hmm.
validity to it. And I wouldn't think that would make any sense.
Yeah, that'd be an
'Cause
interesting step. I don't, unless you're maybe from that area. I don't know.
yeah.
Seems like a step down in jobs because it's tough. Um,
So I don't know. Maybe that was just talk,
yeah.
because I would think Huff. I mean, he's doing a heck of a job. Yeah, but it's on
What?
ESPN as the 13 hours ago. Sources last place in Southern Miss. I hired Champ Marshall's coach.
Hmm.
So the articles is out there. Charles Huff, who was on Alabama staff for a while before he went to
Yeah.
Marshall.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but I don't. Why would you? That doesn't make sense.
He's got to have some
Because
ties or something there because yeah,
got
that's
to.
a rebuilding job there.
Yeah, and then I was thinking it's not, and I can't even say that the old Southern Miss has a lot of money to offer him.
Mhm. That
Oh,
of course.
well, never mind, because 5 hours ago, CBS Sports says I hired the defensive coordinator from.
Hmm.
Oh wait, so Marshall hires NC State defensive coordinator Tony Gibson as next coach after Charles Huff. So Huff did go to Southern Miss for sure, and Marshall hired the defensive coordinator at NC State as their next coach.
Okay.
Wow.
So there you go. So there you go. That coaching carousel already turning.
But
Um,
that just is like what does Southern Miss have to offer other than he's connected to him in any fashion? Because I mean Southern Miss, the last time I remember them being good was when we were in school. They were good every year. They were always a 9-3, a 8-4 type of team. Always Jeff. What was the coach's name? Jeff Bauer. Like they were
mhm.
always a legit team. And they even thought we were a rival of theirs for a while because we had some close
Yeah.
games with them a couple of times. They're
No,
like, oh,
yes.
that's
For a
real
while,
cool.
Southern Miss was one of the top mid-major programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alabama. We used to play
And,
them every season. Um,
Southern Miss considered it like a rivalry game, and I was like, what? we
yeah.
were like,
Well,
huh? That's
they thought
cute.
it. Yeah, it's cute. And then they beat us.
Yeah. Yeah, they did beat us in
A
was
few
that 2000?
2000. Yeah,
Yeah.
2000. That cursed year. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, so then of course we know Penn State went down to Oregon in the Big Ten, and then of course the Clemson, great game, or great end of game. But that
Yeah.
brings me to what we talked about last week. I did indeed find our spreadsheet of our preseason
Drum roll.
predictions. So let's
Hmm.
see how we did here. We'll just go alphabetical here as I have it in the American, we both had the Memphis Tigers. So that was a big old swing and a miss for both of us.
Not quite.
Yeah. It was close. They had a good season. Kind of that
But they have a
Army
good
and
game.
Navy stories came out of nowhere. So
Right.
not a bad guess, but not
Yeah.
right. On the ACC, I actually did have Clemson. So I actually
Huh.
got that one right. Of course, you had Miami, uh, which looked for a while like it would happen. But
Which
just that
should have
crazy
been.
Syracuse
Should have
loss.
been
Should
in
have
the
been, yeah.
game. Yeah.
Should have been in it. For our surprise teams, remember we also did surprise teams and disappointments for the big conferences.
Yeah.
I gave us both a check mark. I had Georgia Tech. You had SMU. You nailed it, obviously, with SMU. And Georgia Tech, good season.
They held their own.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Brent Key, again, great coach for them.
He
And we
is.
both really nailed our disappointing team, although I don't think either of us thought it would be
As
quite
bad.
this big of a disappointment. But Florida State, if I remember right, our reasoning was basically just that they had nowhere to go but down after last season's,
Yeah.
great year.
And we thought maybe it was gonna be like 7-5, 6-6.
Yeah,
Not
I think we
two
probably
and
even talked. Not even that. We probably were thinking like, oh yeah, it's probably like an 8-4, 9-3 season.
yeah.
But
Not
whew,
2-10.
yeah, rough. Big Ten, both a big old swing and a miss on our champ, Ohio State. Of course, had they beat Michigan, they at least would have played in the title game again.
Yeah.
Surprise team, we both had Nebraska.
Yeah.
So
Thanks,
that's a
Nebraska.
no. Yeah. Hey, man, when they were 5-1, it was looking good.
It,
And,
it looked smart for a little bit. No.
you also had Rutgers, so you get
Yeah.
2 strikes for
Two
that.
strikes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a
The
good
easy
year.
schedule, and they still didn't do
No,
anything with it. Yeah.
no. And then disappointment, we both had Michigan, so
Yeah.
that's
Get a point there.
yeah, get a point there.
Again, they were no team that had nowhere to go but down. But
Yeah,
they
but
ended up doing better than what we thought it based on how the season started.
yeah, exactly. Hey, they got another win over Ohio State, so they're
7-5.
probably
Good enough to play Alabama in the Relax West Bowl.
there you go. The world famous Reliant Quest Bowl. The Big 12, though, we get another big old swing and a miss on our champs. We both had Utah, and that just did not happen.
No.
For our surprise teams, I don't think we get a check or a minus on this one. I had TCU, you had Texas Tech. They both had kind of mediocre
season.
to average to okay, seasons.
When they 8-4
Around there,
Tech,
8-4, 7-5, which is
okay.
Yeah. Obviously TCU, if after being in the title game a couple years ago, you want to get back to at least playing for Big 12 titles. But
Right.
Disappointing teams, I had Kansas State. I just I wouldn't call their season disappointment, maybe for them and not wanting to.
I think they are disappointed in the fact that a lot of people had them in the
title game,
in the title game. Yeah. So I get that.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
then
even remember who I had.
oh well, you get all the points for it, man. Oklahoma State.
Oh, man.
Again, maybe like
What a
Florida State.
terrible
I don't
season.
just and they even had to apparently Oklahoma State leadership and Mike Gundy
They
sat
thought about
down and
getting rid
had
of him.
talks. Yeah, they thought about parting
Yeah.
ways, but they stayed together.
Huh.
Um,
That means this is his last year.
yeah, right. So he's earned that right to turn that program around, a program that he's really uh, been the
He's been there
reason that
forever
they've had.
now.
Yeah, he's been there forever. That they've had was an assistant under old Les Miles there and kept it
He
going.
took
And
over after Les Miles, huh? Damn,
yeah,
that was a long time ago. Les Miles was in Stillwater. Jeez Louise.
right. I often forget that that's how he got made his name. But so Conference USA, I actually nailed it. I did pick Jacksonville State, the Fighting Rich
Nice.
Rods. You had Liberty. For a while, it
Yeah,
looked like they were going to go there, but
they underachieved greatly.
yeah, they did in the end. The MAC, I had Toledo, no for that, but you did pick Ohio preseason.
Boom.
Called
Luck of the
the
draw.
that Mountain West, we both got. It was kind of obvious. Boise State was
Boom.
an easy one there. The SEC, I'm giving us both 3 for 3 on that. We both had Georgia as a champ. It's kind of one of those easy. We both had Florida as a surprise team, and although it looked
Mm.
shaky, that November really did.
Yeah.
I don't think people expected that. So,
No.
for my disappointing team, I had LSU, and you had Missouri, and I think both of those are true.
Yeah. I think both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, LSU because of where they are as a program, and they really some of the losses they had and the way they lost, not
Yeah.
good. And Missouri, they had high expectations, top 10 team.
And they got blown out in all their big games.
Yeah, and they
A&M blew them
never
out.
looked
Bama blew them out.
they never looked
They
good this
never.
year.
No. At all.
Yeah, so
No.
Sun Belt we both had picked App State, so that is a no.
Mm.
A disappointing year for them there.
They really, really.
Um,
Um,
and that's it for our conference titles. I guess I can go. So for college football playoff, as far as that goes, I had Ohio State as my champ. You had Georgia. So
we still alive.
yeah, that remains to be seen. Our surprise teams, I had Miami, so that won't happen now.
No.
Uh, you had Alabama,
No.
so nope, that won't happen there.
Huh.
For disappointing teams, I had Michigan again, and
Mhm.
check, and then you had Ole Miss. So yeah, you called it
Hmm.
perfectly.
Check.
It's also a team that didn't quite live up to expectations.
Hmm. Interesting.
Heisman, I think we can both say we missed on. That was my homer pick. I had Jalen Milroe, and tell you
Mm-hmm.
through that Georgia game, even through that Vandy game, man,
He was there.
it was there. He was in the running,
Yeah,
and then
he
Tennessee
was.
ruined that. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
and then you had Quinn Ewers, and at times, yeah, I think your reason was that they were in that offense in that system.
And they
Um,
have lost running backs, and
yeah,
and
and
they try
he
to keep
certainly
passing
had
around.
his moments, but yeah, not a Heisman
Not at all.
contender.
And he
No.
really, overall, I think he really struggled.
Hmm.
I don't know if he's still hurt, but he just never looked comfortable when he came back. I don't know if some of it just the pressure he felt from the competition with Arch Manning and the call for, people really liking Arch or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I thought he kind of had a down season and he really sucked yesterday. He was terrible in the SEC championship game. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, that Georgia defense just he cannot figure it out.
No, and he had 2 games to do it and
They just
didn't do anything different.
yeah, they just terrorized them. But
I would
overall,
have
so
to
yeah,
think.
let's see what's that.
I would have to think this is his last. Even though I think he has more, could have another season. This is definitely his last hurrah at Texas because there's no way Arch is not the quarterback next year.
Yeah, you got to think it's Arch Manning time, and if not,
Yeah,
then has to worry about losing him to the portal.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
Someone's going.
yeah, but yeah, all right. That's a little about an hour 10 minutes on the
Interesting.
college game alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've said about all we can say on it for now. Of course, we can talk
Yeah.
about preview the playoff games and all that coming up in the weeks to
Yeah, we got
come.
a little bit
So
of time. Mhm.
yeah, exactly. Let's go other stuff. Let's stay with college game. We'll switch sports. We'll go to the hardwood. Uh,
Mhm.
SEC may be disappointed they didn't get Alabama in the playoff, but they are not disappointed with their week. in basketball. A 14-2
Domination of the SEC.
dominance of the ACC in the
The,
SEC ACC Challenge.
mm,
The ACC's only victories were two good ones: Clemson upsetting Kentucky and Duke
yeah,
upsetting Auburn,
yeah. Outside of
knocking them,
that, it was ugly.
and including our boys and Crimson went into Chapel
Wow.
Hill into the Dean Dome and just pushed
And
North
dominated.
Carolina around. Yeah,
Mm. And
great
this
win.
may not be the best Carolina team, but no time in life would I have thought that we'd have 3 straight wins over North Carolina. That's
Right?
amazing.
If you had told us when we were in school there that we would go to Chapel Hill and
And dominate.
dominate the Tar Heels, we would have been like,
Yes, please.
yeah, we'd have been
What
like,
are you smoking?
and you
Can
mean
we get
football,
can
right?
we
Yeah,
can we get what you're smoking? Because you got some good shit over
yeah, because you on that good, and you need to
there. This is
share.
ridiculous.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not sharing, and that's rude. Uh, so
Because this
that's
is
awesome.
ridiculous. Yeah, this
Yeah.
it's just awesome where we're at. You know, yeah. I mean, you got to love it. I mean, to beat Carolina 3 times in a row.
Hmm.
You know, and for a team that at times we've had tough road. We've had tough road. We
Troubles
haven't
winning
always
the
looked the
road.
best on
Yeah.
the road. Yeah, to be able to go in there and dominate in that fashion against a true blue blood in the game of college basketball, some in itself. And now we still have Creighton coming up this Saturday, who got a huge win over Kansas this week. So that'll be an interesting one in Tuscaloosa, I think, but
Hmm.
Saturday, and that's our next game. So we get a little bit of time for that. That'll be kind of a revenge game because, of course, lost in Omaha. I
Hmm.
won last year. That Mark Sears three didn't quite go down at the
Yes,
buzzer last year.
a team that we cannot seem to get by in the few times that we've played them over the
No,
past
man, for
20 or
whatever
so
reason,
years. Yeah.
yeah, we lost them in the 2012 NCAA tournament. Got dominated in the NIT, and then you lost to them last year
Hmm.
in a close one. So hopefully we can finally get past them this year, this
Yeah.
weekend.
But a great rebound win for the team after that disappointing
Absolutely,
loss to Oregon.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
on the flip side, some bad news: lost Latrell Wrightsell for the season with an
You
injury.
hate to see that. You
You
hate to
do
see that just because all he brings on both sides of the ball and his
exactly.
shooting abilities, his leadership. But you know, that's the one beauty of this team is we have depth. We were able to unredshirt Mallet from the transfer from can't even think where he's from, Pepperdine, I
Yeah,
believe. So I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
he had a couple of big moments there against Carolina,
And what an
but that
unselfish
just
act. We got to say that too. He,
yeah, he was
okay
okay with
with
doing that.
you losing his red shirt to help the team out, and he played. Yeah, like you said, he had some good minutes.
Yeah, did some great things.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it just shows you the depth of the team there. And then, our that freshman, my goodness,
LeBaron
did he?
Philon, yeah,
Yeah, that the Chiefs are just the most lucky team in the world.
yeah.
My goodness,
As we speak, another last second Chiefs win. Uh,
dinked off and goes through.
oh, I didn't even see
Wow.
it dinked off. I just saw
Yes,
it.
it dinked off the down upright,
uh, see now he's just
bouncing.
they're just trying to.
It was just.
But
Uh,
speaking of Kansas, you mentioned Creighton beating Kansas. Rough week for the number one
yeah,
Jayhawks.
they lost.
Can't,
They lost to their big rival, the border war.
yeah,
Lost to
lost.
Missouri today.
To, yeah, lost the border
Yikes.
war in Missouri. Came in the week unbeaten, and now
Yeah,
they're done.
yeah,
Kentucky had a good win today. Came back from down 18 to beat Gonzaga.
yeah. Last night, wait.
And speaking of Creighton and injury news, it looks like their Pop Isaacs will have hip
Yeah,
surgery, and he is out for the
he's
year as
out for the
well.
year.
On the right cell injury too, I do believe that I think it was Greg Byrne, came out and actually said that they're going to apply and try to get him a medical red shirt,
Yeah.
which would be great.
How much do you get in basketball? I don't know if
I
I
don't
know
know. I
that
don't know.
answer.
Yeah, I don't know what the percentage
I know
is
it's more
there,
in
but
football, but of course the difference is the amount of games in basketball.
yeah.
But you would have to think it's early enough. We're not even
I
to
would conference play.
in the
Yeah.
first week of December.
So
You would
hopefully.
hope. But yeah, that's just a tough loss because I mean,
Mhm.
just what he had become last year, and and then what he was showing this year.
Mhm.
You just hate to see it because he was definitely a star. um,
Absolutely. But like you said, we're deep. This is deep this team's ever
yeah,
been, and we haven't even seen the whole squad really yet. We still got
exactly.
the USF transfer, Youngblood. He still hasn't.
Yeah, still haven't played.
Yeah. So,
So
and these freshmen, they're getting better and better, man.
yeah,
And they are good. Um, so yeah, it's exciting times on the cardwood for
absolutely.
Alabama. Let's see now NFL real quick today. Big shootout in
No,
LA. The
honestly, I can't say I
Rams.
watched a lot of NFL. I stayed away from
Oh
football.
yeah. Did you? Yeah, I had to work to mostly later, so I didn't saw highlights and scores,
Yeah, I
but
saw some highlights, but I wasn't really
yeah,
in a football mood for most of
mood.
the
Yeah,
day, honestly.
the Rams took out Buffalo in a big shootout. I'm sure
Man,
affected a lot of
crazy
fantasy
one.
playoffs today.
Yeah,
Um,
but that was crazy because from listening about that, it sounded like that the Rams were
mhm,
dominating for most of the game, and then Buffalo had a crazy comeback at the end to
mhm.
really pull it off there. But
But yeah, the Eagles win again, but Bryce Young also looks good again.
yeah,
Panthers gave them more of a
mm,
game than I'm sure a lot of people thought. So
yeah,
uh, again, happy for Bryce. The Vikings rediscovered their mojo.
yeah.
Sam Darnold went off on the Falcons. The Falcons continue to
Now
slide.
the Falcons have lost the lead in the South. The
They
Bucks
have
have the
because
lead again.
the Bucks with a win over the
Ha!
Raiders today, despite being swept by the Falcons on the year.
That just
Take it. Yeah, let's
that's
see.
not the most Atlanta thing ever.
Hmm, crazy. Steelers
Ah, boy.
get some revenge on the Browns and
Yeah.
tighten their grip on the AFC North.
Let's
Seahawks
talk
big
about the
win in.
Browns
Oh yeah, go ahead.
for 1 second.
Hmm.
Because it happened last Monday after we had already did our show.
Okay.
But that Monday night game was absolutely bonkers last week.
Oh yeah.
Jameis's performance, the most amazing and the most terrible thing all in one. It's the most Jameis thing ever because he threw for 450, had some amazing touchdowns. Jerry Judy had a game of a lifetime,
Hmm.
and but he threw two pick sixes, and that's just the wildest. And then the
It is.
Broncos
Yeah.
get the win there, but
It
just
is.
a wild, wild day.
It is a wild ride. Looking at their schedule too, and they only have 3 wins this year. One of them's Jacksonville, and the other two somehow are Baltimore and Pittsburgh. This team just who the hell knows?
Yeah, but
And
I
hey,
mean,
they get the Chiefs next Sunday,
who
so
knows? Who
right
knows? I'm
with the
sure.
way that
I'm sure
way the
Jameis will
Chiefs
have a
season's
big time
going,
game.
yeah, right. And then somehow the Chiefs will still pull it out.
Yeah, Chiefs will kick a field goal.
Let's
I mean,
see.
20-19 or something. Mhm.
Seahawks big win over NFC West rivals
Yeah,
Arizona.
yeah.
Zach Charbonnet filling in for Kenneth Walker went nuts. 134, 2 touchdowns for him.
Hmm.
And the 49ers, despite losing
Beat the
Christian
shit out the
McCaffrey
Bears,
for
didn't they?
probably the big win over the Bears, and I mean beat the shit out of them. Defense showed up big time today.
Hmm. Yeah, that Bears team,
Mhm.
boy, ever since that Hail Mary game, my goodness, they just completely
Yeah,
falling
and
apart. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with hiring their coach.
yeah,
Of course, they fired their guy last week, so we'll see what they do.
yes, yeah, we'll see.
But
Lions on Thursday night. Lions got a big win over the Packers,
what a
34-31.
fun game that was.
That was a really good one. Yeah, clinched a playoff spot, kept their number one place in the NFC. Of course, as we said just now, the Chiefs beat the Chargers, another big one in the NFC West or the AFC West there.
They never lose
And
AFC West games. It
no,
doesn't matter.
yeah, it does not feel. If it is, it's a
No.
freaky one like that Raiders game last
Yeah,
Christmas or whenever that was.
right.
And then
But
tomorrow
the
night,
line,
Monday night, your Cowboy. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
Cowboys, Bengals. No, yeah, Cowboys, Bengals. But I was gonna say about that Lions Packers game. I mean, and you gotta respect the way that man will go for fourth down the Lions coach, no matter what the situation. But I mean,
Yeah.
it worked out beautifully for them there. You know, they had that fourth and one. They could have kicked the field goal, gave the Packers a little bit of time there. They go for it, you know, get the first there, and they kick the field goal with no time remaining because the Packers
Mm.
are out of timeouts. But you know, took all the risks there, got all the reward, and it looks great. But that man is not scared of anything.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
He's gonna live and die with his thoughts, but he's consistent. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if it's fourth and less than two, three, that man's probably gonna go for it,
Mm-hmm.
unless he's like on his own 2 yard line, and then he might even think about it still.
No, for sure. Fearless, and his team feeds off that energy
Oh,
too.
they absolutely, yeah. Dan Campbell is he's a fun coach, and yeah, they love him there. And the amazing thing too, they have a boatload of injuries,
Mm.
but they keep replacing folks, and because that defense is injured, and there's a lot of people missing, and they keep on finding plays some folks in there, and wow. So
Yeah.
hopefully they can not have any more injuries. Because man, I want to see Detroit make a Super Bowl run. I think a lot of people do, just because we've
Yeah.
never seen it, and they're just an entertaining team to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're fun on offense when they're hot. You know, a lot of fun
Yeah,
weapons. Just flying around on defense. They're tough. Their coach
yeah,
is crazy. You know, it's great. Um,
yeah.
so as we it does not a lot of change this weekend in terms of playoff teams of position. And you
Mm,
mentioned Tampa
no.
Bay taking over the lead in the NFC South, so that would get them the 4 seed now.
Mm,
Big win by the Rams to keep
it
on the
was.
heels of the Commanders.
And that
Um,
hurts the Bills though for that number one playoff
mhm.
in the AFC.
It does, yeah, because now they're 2 behind, and it just doesn't seem like the Chiefs are going to lose the games necessary for.
No, even though the Bills beat them, yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah, they would need the Chiefs to lose 2 more games,
yeah. I don't see that
and they'd
happening.
have to match the record. And let's see, the Chiefs have the Browns, Texans, Steelers, and Broncos left. So I don't
Yeah,
really see 2 losses in there.
no, maybe
Um,
one.
yeah, they're on the. No, I'll say they're on the road for 3 of those. They go at Cleveland, at Pittsburgh, and at Denver. But and
So it's
Dem-
possible.
Denver almost got them. Pittsburgh's,
Right.
strong team, good defense. That's Christmas Day.
And and you
Um,
never know about Cleveland.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Cleveland's crazy. Uh, just protect yourself when you go in
Yeah, but
there.
2 losses probably very unlikely.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But Buffalo did. I mean, that was last week. They clinched the AFC East.
yeah. I mean the East is
Uh,
easy, but
but Miami another win, so they're also keeping
because
pace for that last playoff spot. The Broncos holding on
they're
right
what
now.
now 6 and 7.
Yeah, they're 6-7 along with the Colts. The Colts actually have
Huh.
a tiebreaker because
Interesting.
the Colts won a head-to-head
Yeah,
matchup,
they did, didn't
and the Broncos sitting right there at 8-5. So they
they?
need the Broncos to lose a couple games, but the Dolphins aren't
Mm.
out of it. Uh,
Huh.
the Bengals, they need to keep winning. If your Cowboys pull that win off tomorrow night, that probably just it might not officially eliminate the Bengals, but it all but
But
will.
that'd be as close as yeah. I think
Yes.
I think they're done now. But yeah, that would definitely kill
Yeah, I
any
don't see
chance if it
them.
was us.
They
Because if you can't beat the Cowboys in this season,
hmm,
you got
mhm,
problems.
yeah. Everyone behind Cincy in the standings in AFC is officially eliminated.
Yeah.
Cleveland, Jacksonville, the Jets,
Hmm.
Titans, Pats, and Raiders. Only the Giants are actually officially eliminated in the NFC. Even Carolina is still technically alive
Yeah, that's a
for the
technical.
playoffs.
That just shows you about the South. Wow.
I was about to say, yeah, I guess that reason in there is they could somehow catch Tampa Bay. Huh. Well,
Huh.
let's see. Who does Carolina have left? No, just kidding.
Huh.
They do have. Oh, they have your Cowboys next week.
Hmm.
Uh, Cowboys, Cardinals, Bucks, and Falcons to end their season.
Uh,
I
not
mean, they
impossible.
not
It's
impossible.
not
They actually need to
impossible.
pull out one of these wins. They're playing good, but they're not getting a win.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, the chances of them winning those are not great. But if there's four on the schedule that they have a
hmm
chance, I mean, that's not the toughest last couple
no,
of games in your season.
yeah, it's interesting that that race between Tampa Bay and Atlanta though. Tampa Bay has They play at the Chargers, at the Cowboys, home for the Panthers, home for the Saints. So
Hmm.
uh, those two road games could be tricky. You
No.
never know with your Cowboys up and down.
Yeah,
But
who knows?
next week, Chargers will be desperate to bounce back too. So
Yeah, so that would be tough.
and the Falcons end with at the Raiders, Giants, at the Commanders, and then the Panthers. So those are
Hmm.
three really winnable games, and then the Commanders.
Yeah,
Um,
and who knows what the Commanders are playing for at that point? So
yeah, so
you know,
that's
again,
interesting.
really, there's
Uh,
no. Yeah, so really, it's gonna
mhm.
man. Yeah, it's gonna just gonna come down to the Falcons and the Bucks, and who wants to win it more.
Yeah. Let's see. Anything else in the world of sports? Let's see. Any NBA stuff you want to talk about? I don't want to fucking talk about it. Fucking,
My Mavericks have been hot recently.
well, that's
We're on
good.
the heater right now. I think we were 7-3. We jumped up to number 2 in the West all of a sudden. So
Mm.
can't be mad at that.
Well,
Still
that's good
alive
for
in the
you because my
yeah.
Pelicans not doing so hot.
We're
Uh,
still alive in the cup that really doesn't
of,
matter, but we're still in that. But yeah, so I mean,
nice.
we've been on the heater there, but it's still only first part of December, so not
Mm.
sure how important it is. But you know, just a couple weeks ago, we were in like 10th, so to jump up to second, I'll
Hey,
take
yeah,
it for
you
now.
7 in a row,
Luca's
9
back
of the last
healthy,
10. Yeah.
yeah. So hey, but that's about it on the NBA. You know, we covered everything. I think college football related. NFL is getting to the very interesting part as we get into December. You know, we'll see some interesting finishes there.
Mm-hmm.
A wild card position, especially. But outside of that, I think we covered most everything. And of course, we got our big baseball news of the day.
Mm.
Soto to the
Insane.
Mets. But that 15-year contract, that's just ridiculous. Because we know damn well no one's playing 15 years anywhere.
That is, and that's a very Mets like
I,
deal, as they still pay
yeah.
Bobby Bonilla to this day.
But it's
Uh,
just like, has no one thought that past like even 10 is ridiculous?
I'm sure. Let's see. Yeah, it includes an opt out after 5 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean that's more realistic. But possible 15-year deal. I mean, Juan Soto's still a young dude, but in 15 years he's gonna be old as shit.
he would be 41 by the time this
Yeah,
contract ends.
yeah. No,
So
that's
yeah,
not gonna.
but
Yeah, it's just wild that they keep doing these contracts. Whether things change, and of course people can opt out, and they never they fix it one way or the other. But the fact that they still do these things is wild to me.
hmm,
They still put these big 15-year deals together. It's like, it's not realistic. It's not happening. Why even put it as such? I don't know.
yeah,
I guess to spread
pretty
out the money. I mean, it makes it easier for that part. So I get it there because yes, that's 700 some $1 million contract. That's wild. And
yeah.
honestly,
Just
we'll get to 1 billion at some point.
oh yeah, it's coming.
It's gonna happen at
I
some
mean,
point.
it's already happened. I'm sure in soccer deals.
Yeah.
But
But
this
eventually that baseball, I mean, they've been pushing it. Yeah,
mhm.
eventually they're gonna get to that billion.
um, but yeah, I think that does it. So, Greg, what has been done up real good for you this week?
Done up for me real good this week. And I don't know. I'd say we've slower than normal, but kids got our tree up today and decorated pretty nicely. So guess that's done really well.
Mhm.
How about you?
I'll just say, I guess, Christmas season really starting to feel
Yeah.
like it got the tree, the decorations, presents,
Nice.
wrapping, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it kind of really feels like the Christmas season
Oh yeah,
officially. So that's also nice, relaxing.
for
Uh,
sure.
yeah.
There's something about once you hit that mid-December point, it's pretty. I don't know. Even as you get older, it's still something special about it. I don't
hmm
know.
Yeah, exactly that. It shifts, away from, when you're young, presents and stuff like that.
Yeah, Switch is more wild. Being enjoying what your kids enjoy.
Yeah,
And yeah, and you'll start experiencing that more as your son gets older. There, of course, because right now he'll play with the box and be
yeah.
thrilled. But
He don't give a shit. Yeah, right now
the
he
wrap
might.
the wrapping paper will be just as entertaining as the toys. But yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
eventually, just the joy of when he gets that big present
Mhm.
that he really wanted, and the fact that it came, and whether he thinks it's from you guys or Santa Claus. I mean, either way, he'll be thrilled. So. I mean, just that joy that you get from that, the joy experience is just, yeah, it's really, I mean, until you experience it, it's just something that's just amazing. So you'll get there, and just then as you get older, just you know, just spending time with folks, because as we getting older, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you start realizing, man, you don't have as much time as sometimes you think. So
Mm-hmm.
To be able the holiday season, I think is a good time, reflection, and just, hey, let's just enjoy the time and not rush stuff, and let's sit down and watch a Christmas movie, or let's go look at lights, or what little things that may be memorable for the families. So
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to that. But it is funny, at least to watch him now. Tear the
yeah,
paper out, or he did that with something my dad got him for his birthday. It was like
yeah,
this little power wheel type 4-wheeler thing, and we
hmm
put him on it and rolled him around a little bit, and he kind of giggled, thought it was funny, but then he hopped off and climbed right in the box. So,
oh
uh,
yeah, because that was way more exciting. Heck yeah,
exactly, yeah, it's a
some
box.
wild paper and a box, and doesn't get better
But
than
no, yeah,
that.
it's we done the other things. My wife and I decided to start buying each other gifts again. We kind of never used to
Yeah,
do that. Spent the money on like a vacation or something. But
right.
so that'll be fun getting gifts again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is what is done up real good for me this week. Thank you, as always, for listening, folks, as you always do. Be sure to subscribe and give us good ratings or likes wherever you listen to us. Be sure to suggest us to your friends and or
hmm
any business owners that would like to sponsor us or any other podcast on the Alabama Take family of podcasts. I guess a congratulation goes out to Blaine. I guess he is the regular season and conference champ of the
So
Taking Bets column. Um, I think
he kind
we're
of
gonna.
ran the table.
He
He
did,
was kind
yeah.
of he got out to an early lead and never looked back.
Yeah, we could never just quite get going. Mal kind of hovered
No,
around 500 all year. You and me just not good
hmm
years.
no,
Uh,
it was
but
fun
yeah,
though.
we'll pick. I think we're gonna. We've talked about it in some email. I think we might pick the playoff games. So maybe we can have a decent showing there at least.
For sure.
But yeah, as always, thanks for listening, folks. Check out the alabamatake.com. You can find all the podcasts there, including writings that some of our contributors do there as well.
hmm
Keep it done up real good yourselves out there, folks. Keep your head up, Bama fans. It's fine. It was a good year still. We'll talk about
Yeah.
it, but it was a good year. Great, buddy. I will see you next time.
Yes, sir. We'll do it.